What's something that became socially acceptable way too quickly? Story 1. The obnoxious amount of advertisement everyone must suffer through in order to use any electronic service. Video, 10 ads scattered throughout. Open an app, watch an ad first. Search Google for information, see ads all over the page, and then on every page you navigate to. It's gotten out of control. Answer. Last week I had a first. I put an address into Google Maps for work. The address came up with the little diamond arrow icon for directions, and then an advertisement for a restaurant came up just below, also with that diamond arrow like part of the search result. It was a city address, so I assumed it was just a first-floor restaurant at the address I had selected. I followed it almost 20 minutes and discovered that it had taken me to a completely different address than the one I selected. I map probably 15 addresses a day, and I've never seen this before. I hope it's not a new feature. I can see them giving me the option for a business if it was in the vicinity of the address I selected, but this was in a different zip code 20 minutes away. Cost me time and money. Story 2. As Mike Tyson once said, social media made y'all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. Answer. I like this on multiple levels. He has been to jail, so he knows there are consequences for your actions. Like, yay, the other guy will get punished, arrested, and charged with assault, etc., and you won't BC of the First Amendment. But I guarantee you think twice the next time regardless. I'm not advocating violence. BC again, you will be the one punished. The whole sticks and stones deal. But you know someone who has seen consequences and still says that means it LOL. Like he will take the punishment to teach you a lesson in manners anyway, haha. Story 3. Watching videos on your phone without headphones, in public and especially in public transportation. Same with video calls. Answer. Every 2 weeks I have chemotherapy. Every morning, one of my fellow chemo patients sits there with his phone as loud as humanly possible, flicking every 15 seconds to another loud video of people talking about whatever the algo is feeding him. I have asked him to turn it down. Others have. Nurses have. Last week I lost my temper, so I moved, sat down directly beside him, and turned on Weird Al's Polka as loudly as my phone would play it, and stared at him with a deadpan face. He finally turned his phone off. This has been a thing for at least 3 to 4 months. Story 4. Personal data harvesting. We seem to go from WTF, they're doing what, to complete and utter capitulation, despite us being right and having the law on our side briefly. Story 5. Flushable wipes. They aren't flushable and fudge up our sewer systems. Cities across the world should sue 2 companies for false advertising and the extra work they cause. Google Fatberg if you don't know. Story 6. Lack of basic social skills. No one on the bus wants to hear your music. Stop ignoring your kid when they are kicking the back of someone's seat. Speakerphone is for when you are on private. And let people off the train bus before you step on. All this happened on one bus ride. BTW. Answer. Also, when did people stop announcing that someone was on speaker? I appreciate there are times that it's absolutely acceptable to take a call on speaker with someone present. Driving, hands are busy like you're cooking, whatever. But you don't know if the person is going to say something they absolutely don't want the other people to hear. It could just be, I'm running 5 minutes late, or could be, yeah, I think the gal I slept with the other night gave me herpes. Story 7. Then you have to create yet another account, even more passwords to remember, record, etc., etc., and then hand over more personal data to them. Life was better when you just handed over cash anonymously, or swiped your bank card, or rang up and spoke to a human to book an appointment. Story 8. That dancing shoot on public transportation whilst videoing themselves and other passengers and forcing high fives from pissed off people trying to go about their day without winding up on some jerk's TikTok. Story 9. Girls in their 20s going under the knife and getting fillers, making the Bratz doll look an aesthetic due to social media saturation. Answer: I'm disgusted by the trend of 20-something-year-old women doing and hawking insane anti-wrinkle rituals with 12 different types of moisturizer, 4 masks, insane overnight hair rollers, and pillows that hold your face in a vice grip so you don't get cheek wrinkles. I've heard tales of the elementary school girls watching this content now have a wrinkle complex and then go around berating Sephora employees over not having the TikTok-promoted product in stock. Side note, I'm case one of these anti-wrinkle influencer cockroaches reads this: you will not look 23 forever, no matter what you do outside of surgical intervention. Menopause comes for us all in the end. Brace yourself, Braylin. You're going to end up moon-faced with belly fat that only hormone replacement therapy can start to fix. Story 10. The unabashed hatred and incivility in politics. 2 politicians and their families were attacked in Minnesota, and one of them and her husband died. The senator from Utah decided to post false information about the shooter and appear to revel in the attack. This was his first thought, and no one from his party said anything. Things that people say now would have been career-ending 10-20 years ago. Story 11. Ghosting, especially when an employer ghosts an applicant. If you say, well, keep in touch after an interview, we expect it. Story 12. Confidently proclaiming my truth instead of being concerned about objective facts and standards. Simply suggesting that those things exist might make some people uncomfortable. Story 13. Within a decade, being a sellout went from being a league of its own put-down about a lack of originality identity to being something that people, kids especially, strive to be. Story 14. Crowdfunding personal things. I bought a fancy car I can't afford. Please contribute to my insert specific crowdfunding site here. Story 15. Phones out in the cinema. I once told a woman off for it, and she said her screen was on the lowest brightness, so it was fine. Story 16. Gambling apps. Used to, you had know a guy or had to go to Vegas or something to gamble on sports. Now they have lots of fudge apps for it. In my anecdotal experience, it's ruined talking sports with most of the people in my life. I don't care about your parlay or how close it came to paying off. It's taken over, and because of it, my interest in sports has taken a nosedive. I struggled to care about college football last year, and I didn't watch more than a few basketball games this season, almost none of the playoffs. Is the NBA Finals still going on? I don't know, LOL. Answer. Same here, the legalization of sports betting has made me lose interest in sports altogether. I don't have a problem with it, but it shouldn't be on the broadcast itself. How am I to explain that gambling can become addictive to my young children when they see it portrayed as fun? Should be like cigarettes, no TV advertising. It becomes a chemical addiction in the brain. Should be treated like other addicting products. Story 17. As a parent, I'll have to say, letting children wildly misbehave and destroy public spaces. Can't believe the shoot parents let their kids do in parks, playgrounds, airports, etc. I'm not worried about the physical damage, per se. It's the example that's being set. Our middle class should want to have kids, but too many shoot-tier parents set a horrible example that will turn off younger people from wanting to be parents someday. Story 18. Treating disabled people as if they are guilty of faking until proven innocent. I don't know where people got the idea that I owe them my medical records, but it's insane. I don't gaff if someone doesn't believe I'm disabled, but no one is entitled to medical records. Answer. I really wish this would stop. I recently became disabled due to diabetes and kidney failure, and I lost my ability to walk properly without crutches. But I look perfectly normal if I'm wearing pants, and I get a lot of criticism for parking in the handicap spots, especially after my dialysis sessions when I'm completely exhausted. I already dislike this new life and don't need another person yelling at me for parking in the handicapped spot. Story 19. Neglecting your children by being tethered to your smartphone and ignoring them. Alternatively, giving your children a smartphone. Story 20. Sending private pictures, especially as a teen. It doesn't matter if it's someone you barely know or someone you are in a relationship with. Things can change very quickly, and you have no idea where those will end up. And yet every time I point this out, usually in threads like this, I'm told I'm an old fart, and that's just how it is now. Story 21. Outsourcing your writing and thinking to AI. It's going to have really negative consequences on literacy rates and, as such, on people's ability to think critically. Story 22. Teenagers getting into intense adult content intimacy activity. I graduated in 2009 and was intimacy active in HS, but was nowhere near as intimacy IDK knowledgeable or aggressive as teenagers seem to be these days. Answer. Just look at all of the things that influence teens. It's all full of intimacy. You can barely listen to the radio or watch a show without gratuitous amounts of intimacy references. And I am by no means any sort of saint or prudish person. Even the more chill, relaxed songs are like, and then we sat by this beautiful lake and we foo-kiddy. Story 23. Vaping fudge everywhere. I think a lot of people who smoke genuinely convince themselves that they're a persecuted class, which I get. Kind of a pain in the jerk to have to take the walk of shame to go outside to smoke a butt. I get it. But goddamn, vapes became a thing, were considered slightly more acceptable in more places, and people into vaping became absolutely goddamned insufferable. Just blowing clouds indoors, at and on the people around them, be they smokers, vapors, or non-smokers, alike. And the vaping folks will sometimes look at you like you're being absolutely ridiculous if you dare to say, "Hey, I'm sorry. Would you mind not blowing huge dank clouds directly in my face?" Obviously, this isn't universal, but it's common enough. Just a wild phenomenon. Don't even get me started on how preposterous it is that most vapes are just straight-up disposable. Wild. Story 24. Talking on your cell phone in speaker mode, acting like you're hosting some sort of conference call. You're really just an attention whore if you're doing that. Story 25. Crowdfunding. You do it on a street corner and it's called begging and socially unacceptable behavior. But if you do it online, it's perfectly fine, apparently. Story 26. Assisting infectious diseases by not vaccinating, not staying home when contagious, and not masking up when coughing and sneezing. Story 27. Non-legit service animals in stores. I'm not talking dogs in Home Depot, etc. I'm talking about dogs in grocery stores and in grocery baskets where people put food. It's disrespectful to those who do need legit service animals for physical disabilities like crippled or blind. If you're anxious about going in public, then do everyone a favor and get little Fluffy trained to be in public or leave them at home. Story 28. People are way too comfortable discussing their intimacy life with literally anyone for attention. Story 29. Going in a car with a stranger because he downloaded an app, aka Uber and Lyft. At least taxis drivers had to be licensed. Story 30. Denying science facts with the idea that all opinions are created equal. No, Karen. Your shoot Facebook video is not the same thing as a mountain of peer-reviewed scientific journals. Story 31. Dogs in bars. It's a bad idea. Also, how did they somehow make it acceptable to have kids in bars now? Is the large Jenga or long tables? Parents getting smashed off of 10 beers and watching their kids play with someone's emotional therapy dog while they sober up enough to drive them and their kids home? Are we going to start having DUI checkpoints on sunny days near breweries? Story 32. Every business drawn near demanding that you download their app. I just want to buy your shoot, not allow you to track me and clog up my phone. Story 33. Hookups and cheating on others. Feels like no one is held accountable in those things in this day and age. Story 34. Clothing that leaves literally nothing to the imagination in public. Ma'am, I can see your literal jerk, and before anyone starts, no. This is not a telling women what to wear misogynist moment that you think it is, because you want to boil the nuance out of every conversation. This is about being respectful to children and others around you, who do not want to see the wrinkles of your labia when standing in the sandwich line. Story 35. Being able to speak to other people any old kind of way and know you'll get away with it. Popping someone in the mouth should be legal again. Story 36. Setting up a child for an emotionally charged moment while recording the entire thing for social method. Story 37. Not sure it's really socially acceptable by everyone, but there are way too many people who don't mind looking at their phone with the volume at full blast in public. A guy at my gym is on TikTok the whole time he's working out, scrolling between sets. It's wild that he thinks it's fine. Just doing it to me says that you're a little unhinged. Story 38. Not RSVPing to events or just not showing up without any notice to the host. I get it, but it's super frustrating when trying to plan a party, particularly a child's party that requires a head count ahead of time. Story 39. People using their cell phones to take pics and videos of anyone they want. There's no privacy anymore. I also dislike when people take pics of me and post to social media. I always ask someone if it's okay first. Story 40. Being rude. People like to claim that they're blunt, have no filter, brutally honest, but the truth is they're just a holes. Story 41. Not taking accountability or responsibility, acting like being empathetic, being kind is a weakness. We need more human decency and love in this world. Story 42. Bonus points for telling the audience why you're upset between fake sobs and fake tears so you can farm for more likes and subscribers. Story 43. Handing children iPads and phones instead of balls, books, or bicycle skates to go play outside and be social. Story 44. Almost no regulations on AI interacting with and allowing it to collect and store your likeness just for some fun little simulated 80s yearbook pictures. Story 45. Vapes, and I'm saying this with experience. I vaped for 3 years, and I feel like people accepted it too quickly. Story 46. catering to the minority group, as in we listen to one person rather than the other 100. Nothing to do with race, gender, religion, etc. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Spock. Story 47. Speakerphone in public. If you can't be bothered to hold a phone to your ear, get a darn set of headphones. Stop loudly broadcasting your awful conversations. Story 48. Nazis saw authoritarians. We all used to watch movies where they were the safe villains because everyone disliked them. Now it's always, well, it's nuanced, or Hitler had some good points. What the fudge are we even doing here? Story 49. Snotty influencers thinking they are the only one on the planet and all should bow down, step aside and learn some manners. Please and thank you. Respect is earned, not given. Story 50. Using speaker in public for music or to talk to people. It drives me nuts, and people tend to talk way louder when they're on speaker with someone than when they use headphones, AirPods. It's like discretion and decency died, man. Story 51. Talking down to people, pretending to be an expert, lacking empathy, deception and manipulation to get ahead. Story 52. Blasting vulgar music at the gas pump. Conversations on speakerphone in public. Allowing children to play games or watch movies in public with the volume at full blast. Story 53. Using words that don't mean what they're intended to mean in any context, especially oxymoronic phrases like platonic fudge buddy or whatever other brain-rotted nonsense these communities come up with. Story 54. USA stop signs everywhere seem to have become yield signs. Stopping before turning right on red seems non-existent now. Story 55. Most of these are, hey, I don't think this should be socially acceptable, and not, what became socially acceptable too early. Sucks. Wanted some thought-provoking answers. Story 56. The vilification of empathy, genuine human connection. People pretend that choosing to engage with the world like a psychopath is totally normal. Story 57. I think the thing we did with Uber and stripping taxi union subsidies happened way too fast and could have been better thought out. Story 58. Letting a tablet and/or phone babysit your child. So many parents think it is perfectly fine to just obliterate their child's dopamine receptors on a daily basis with constant exposure to phones and tablets, and it is massively detrimental to a child's development. Story 59. The sheer amount of adult beverage consumed on a daily basis that is considered normal acceptable no matter the time of day. I'm glad the ways of thinking about adult beverage are changing, though. Story 60. Honestly, I think openly discussing your political affiliation or attributing certain behaviors and actions to a political party. I remember growing up in the 90s, it was a big secret who you voted for. At least for my parents, they would never divulge to friends and neighbors who they voted for. Story 61. Dogs in restaurants and businesses. I know what a service animal looks and acts like. 99.9% of y'all don't match the description. Story 62. Rejection of expertise. 10 years ago, if you said global leading expert in XYZ field has done a years-long study and come to ABC conclusion on how we can better society, people would say, oh, nice. But now you have 1,000 imbeciles all clambering over each other to be the first to claim they're lying, and it's a conspiracy and they need to be executed publicly. Story 63. Influencers. Such a strange concept if you think about it. Celebrities used to be our influencers. Now we have hordes of beautiful people we'd previously never heard of selling us. Shoot, we don't need getting rich off of it. Because why? Story 64. abusing retail staff because we can't fight it or defend ourselves most of the time without risking losing our job. Story 65. Posting pics of your kids or too much info about them on dating apps. It seems like you're advertising to me, intentionally or otherwise. Story 66. Unhinged commentary about other people on social media, like posting, "Yo, I saw this one woman with a weird haircut. Gosh, how ugly," and then proceeding to roast her for no reason. You don't even know why she has that hairstyle. And other stuff, like for example saying, "El Mao, I saw someone wearing a Hello Kitty print shirt who is like 60, how weird," or "I sat in a bus full of weird cosplayer. WTF is going on? Weirdo Congress or what?" Story 67. Taking lots of selfies and posting them. Not just wannabe influencers, but everyone. That used to be a sign of narcissism. Story 68. Being stupid, and I mean not in the uneducated way, but in the "I don't know anything and I am proud of it" way. Story 69. Constantly filming strangers for content without their consent. Everyone's trying to go viral, and basic respect got lost along the way. Story 70. Recreational green stuff. No one talks about the negatives that have been seen since it has been legalized, especially for anyone under 25. Story 71. Listening to your mobile phone without earphones on the speaker, or having full-on conversations using the speaker rather than pulling it up to your ear like it's designed to do. Story 72. That entire "I don't care" attitude. It's like all consideration for other people went away after COVID. Story 73. Being mean. People are just so nasty to each other these days, and everyone just thinks it's cool and quirky. Story 74. Being a misogynistic, racist, self-centered asshat out where other people can see and not being called on it. Story 75. Automating your entire life. There's something to be said for actually having life skills to do things, and having everything automated with cameras attached, even if they're turned off, is actually unsafe. People can hack that so easily. Story 76. Taking pictures of others in public without permission. It is odd that old-fashioned cameras were treated like an invasion of privacy, but now people just stream live video walking down busy public streets. Story 77. Being on your phone at social gatherings. When I was a teen, it was rude to even send a quick text if you were with someone else. Story 78. Smoking plant substance in public. I am not against plant substance at all, but do that shoot at your house. It's legalized in New Jersey, where I'm from, but it doesn't mean you can smoke it everywhere. Story 79. Taxation without representation. We fought wars over a 2 tax, but we all just are okay with losing 25-40 of what we earn. Then sales tax and property tax on top of that. You make a $100 by the time you use it, like less, then 40 is yours. Company pays you $100. You get maybe 75 after tax. You take that 75 and buy something and taxes for that too. So let's say, for sake of argument, your state sales tax is 10. Your 75 is only worth 68. Now you're also paying tax on rent or property you own varies, but let's say that takes another 10-20 of your income on just the tax on a house you already own. Your 68 is now 48 and you have not even spent any money yet. Then some cities and places impose a payroll tax on top of that. If the A corporation has more than X amount of payroll or staff members, then the government is going to mandate you have to have insurance, while also letting the industry run amok to criminal levels of price gouging. TV, internet. No social media has made us all complacent. The Boston Tea Party was fought over a two-tax and government support financial rigging monopoly on tea situation. Our ancestors would burn the health insurance companies and for profit. Hospital system to the ground from the corruption alone. Is this X-ray going to cost $400 or $4,000? Nobody knows till you get the based on the mood they are in. Story 80. Shamelessly posting on social media with the intention of going viral or getting likes. Is it not embarrassing anymore to deliberately fish for attention? Story 81. Shaming and doxing people online with no proof or evidence. See way. Too many posts on my local sub saying, hey, this guy is a rapist, and everyone starts circle jerking in. But it could very easily be a lie. Story 82. Shaming random people for shoot things. Like shaming bad behavior is fine, but this guy is so funny looking, or this lady is so stupid. We shouldn't do that. Let people live in peace. Story 83. Having more children than you can actually afford. I'm a product of this. Have 3 other siblings and neither of my parents worked. Story 84. Being literally glued to your phone 247. And I say that as someone who does do this. Fudge the way society has become. Story 85. Watching videos on public transport without headphones. More and more people do it and no one says anything. I think it's past the point of no return now. Story 86. Political misinformation has reached a new low. It was proven that several conservative pundits were being funded by Russia, and we just shrugged and moved on. Their careers still intact. Story 87. Depending on trauma dumping on others to fulfill your emotional needs. Expecting others to regulate and accommodate their emotions. Story 88. Overpriced subscription prices for streaming services if you don't want ads every 10 minutes of the video on top of the actual subscription price. Story 89. Talking in movie theaters.